Have you ever met someone who spoke beautifully about change, but never changed a thing? We all know people like this. They talk about dreams, about plans, about becoming better. Their words sound perfect. But when you look at their days, nothing moves. Today's story is about a young man who learned that the smallest step forward means more than the grandest speech about walking. Stay until the end, and you'll discover why what you do in silence speaks louder than what you promise in public. Let me tell you about Daniel. Daniel lived in a small town where everyone knew everyone. He was the kind of person people noticed when he spoke. His voice carried confidence. Whenever neighbors gathered at the market or sat together in the evening, Daniel would talk about his ideas. He'd describe the garden he'd plant one day, full of vegetables and flowers. He'd explain how he'd fix the old bridge near the creek that everyone complained about. He'd promised to teach children in the square, sharing stories and lessons. People liked listening to him. His words painted pictures. They made others smile and nod. But months passed, and the garden never appeared. The bridge stayed broken. No children gathered for lessons. One afternoon, Daniel walked past the home of an old craftsman named Thomas. Thomas was kneeling in the dirt, working on a wooden fence. His hands moved slowly but steadily. Daniel stopped and watched. "Thomas, why do you work so hard on this fence?" Daniel asked. "Nobody even sees it from the road." Thomas didn't look up. He placed another board carefully and hammered a nail with 3 firm strikes. Then he sat back and wiped his face. "This fence doesn't need anyone to see it," Thomas said. "It needs to stand." Daniel laughed a little. "I've been thinking about building something too. A workshop, actually. I'd make furniture for people who need it. I've got the whole design in my head." Thomas nodded slowly. "When will you start?" "Soon," Daniel said. "I'm just waiting for the right time." Thomas picked up another board. "I've heard you talk about many projects," he said quietly. "The garden, the bridge, the teaching. Which one are you working on now?" Daniel felt something uncomfortable in his chest. Finally, he said, "I've been busy with other things." Thomas hammered another nail. "Busy talking or busy doing?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Daniel wanted to defend himself, but the words wouldn't come. He stood there watching Thomas work for another minute, then walked away. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. Thomas's question kept returning. Busy talking or busy doing? He thought about all his promises, all his plans, all the conversations where people had looked at him with hope. He realized something painful. His words had become a substitute for action. Speaking about what he'd do felt good. It gave him the warm feeling of accomplishment without any actual work. But nothing in his life had changed because of those words. The next morning, Daniel woke early. He didn't tell anyone what he was planning. He walked to the creek and looked at the broken bridge. It wasn't large, just a simple crossing made of wood and rope. But several boards had rotted through, and nobody used it anymore. Daniel didn't know much about building bridges, but he knew he could learn. He went home and found some old wood in his shed. It wasn't perfect, but it would work. He carried the planks to the creek and started removing the rotten boards. The work was harder than he expected. Splinters cut his hands. His back ached. Twice, he almost gave up, but he kept going. He didn't talk to anyone about it. He just worked. By evening, he'd replaced 3 boards. They weren't beautiful, but they were solid. Daniel came back the next day, and the day after that. Each morning, he worked on the bridge for 2 hours. Some days he only managed to replace 1 board. Other days he fixed the rope railings. 2 weeks passed. People started noticing. They'd see Daniel at the creek, working quietly. "Daniel, is that you fixing the bridge?" Old Margaret asked one morning. "Yes," Daniel said simply. He didn't explain his plans. He just kept working. "Can I help?" asked a young boy named Peter. Daniel handed him some nails to hold. They worked together in silence. The next day, Peter's father came with better tools. Then Margaret's son appeared with fresh wood. They didn't come because Daniel had asked. They came because they saw something real happening. 3 weeks after he started, the bridge was finished. It wasn't fancy. The wood didn't match perfectly, and the railings were a bit crooked, but it was strong. People began using it again. Children ran across it laughing. Nobody thanked Daniel with big speeches, but people nodded to him differently now. There was respect in their eyes that hadn't been there before. Daniel went back to see Thomas. The old craftsman was sitting on his porch, carving a piece of wood. "I fixed the bridge," Daniel said. Thomas looked up and smiled slightly. "I know. I walked across it yesterday." "It's not perfect," Daniel admitted. "Perfect things don't exist," Thomas said. "Finished things do. Real things do." Daniel sat down on the porch steps. "I always thought I needed to have everything figured out before starting." Thomas turned the wood in his hands. "That's what stops most people. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan. Meanwhile, time passes and nothing gets built." "Words are easy," Thomas continued. "They cost nothing. You can make 100 promises before breakfast. But actions? Actions cost you. They take your time, your effort, your comfort. That's why most people prefer talking." "But here's what I've learned in 70 years, Thomas said. "The people who change things are never the best talkers. They're the ones who start before they're ready. They make mistakes, but they finish what they start, even if it's small." Daniel felt those words settle into him like seeds into soil. "I spent so much time talking about big projects, but I never thought about just doing one small thing completely. Small things done are bigger than big things talked about," Thomas said. "That bridge? It's small, but it's real. It serves people." Daniel looked at his hands. They were rough now, marked with cuts and calluses. "These hands tell a different story than my mouth used to tell." "Yes," Thomas said. "And people believe hands more than mouths." Over the following months, Daniel changed. He stopped announcing his plans. Instead, he'd quietly start working on them. Some projects failed. Others turned out differently than he'd imagined, but things got done. He planted a small garden, just 6 plants at first. When they grew, he planted more. Within a season, he had vegetables to share. He didn't start teaching with grand lessons. Instead, he sat on a bench one afternoon and began telling a story to 2 children playing nearby. They listened. The next day, 4 children came, then 8. He never announced it. He just showed up. The change in how people saw him was striking. Before, they'd smiled politely when he talked about his dreams. Now, they asked for his help. They trusted him because they'd seen him follow through. One evening, a young woman named Elena approached him. "Everyone says you're the person who actually does things around here," she said. "I want to start a community kitchen, but I don't know where to begin." A year ago, Daniel would have given her a long speech. Now, he said something different. "Let's cook 1 meal tomorrow. Just 1. We'll make enough for 5 people and share it. Then we'll see what we learn." Elena looked surprised. "Just 1 meal? Those bigger things might come," Daniel said. "But they'll come after you start, not before. Start with what you can do today." They cooked 1 meal, then another. Within 2 months, they had a regular schedule feeding 20 people a week. Elena learned what Daniel had learned. Action creates momentum that planning never can. Years passed. Daniel became known not for his beautiful words, but for his reliable hands. When people needed something done, they thought of him, not because he promised the most, but because he delivered what he promised. On his 40th birthday, Daniel sat with Thomas again. "Thank you," Daniel said simply. "For what?" Thomas asked. "For asking me that question years ago. About whether I was busy talking or busy doing." Thomas smiled. "I didn't change you. I just held up a mirror. You changed yourself when you decided to look. Daniel understood. His bridge wasn't just a bridge. His garden wasn't just plants. They were proof that he'd changed from someone who intended to someone who acted. Thomas nodded. Real change happens in private, in the early mornings when nobody's watching, in the small decisions to continue when you're tired. The world doesn't need more people who can describe success beautifully. It needs people who'll wake up and do the work of actually building it. Now, here's what I want you to understand. You might be listening to this and thinking about your own life. Maybe you've talked about writing a book, starting a project, learning a skill, changing a habit. Maybe you've described your dreams to others so many times that the descriptions feel almost like accomplishments. They're not. Words without action are just noise, no matter how pretty they sound. But one small action done today is worth more than 1,000 perfect plans for tomorrow. You don't need to announce what you're going to do. You don't need permission or perfect conditions. You just need to start. Do one thing today, not the whole project. Just one board on your bridge, one plant in your garden, one page of writing, one conversation you've been avoiding. Let your actions speak before your mouth does. Let people discover what you've done instead of hearing what you'll do. Build your life in the quiet hours when nobody's watching. That's where real change happens. Maybe this story found you at the right moment. If it did, you might want to keep it close or share it with someone walking the same path. Staying with this channel means we'll walk together through more lessons like this. But remember, your life won't change because you listened to this story. It'll change when you close this video and do one thing you've been talking about. Start there. Start now. Start small, but start.